Hello everyone, Blueknight here and welcome back to another Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart video. So out of a clear blue sky today, Sony made a very random info drop for Rift Apart, and it's a rather decent amount of information to go over, despite there being no new gameplay to speak of. We did get a trailer though, but it was just for letting everyone know that pre-orders for the game are live as of today, and nothing really more. Well, besides that, I'm going to be going over everything else that we learned about the game today, starting with the release date, which is June the 11th, exactly 4 months from now. I know, we were all assuming Insomniac would follow the release pattern of Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was to announce the game's release date 2 months ahead of time. But this still technically falls into the first half of 2021, like we originally heard. So we weren't completely wrong there. Next up is the game's cover art, which we have the North American and the Japanese variants of. Notice on the bottom left corner of the box, next to the ESRB rating, it says Art Not Final, meaning this image right here could change before the game's launch. Or it might not. We'll have to see how that goes. But my first reaction to this art is, it's just beautiful. There's just no other way I can describe it. If this doesn't get changed by the time the game launches, this will be one of my top favorite Ratchet & Clank cover arts. Now, according to the PlayStation blog post that was put out today by Marcus Smith, who is the creative director at Insomniac Games, had this to say concerning this piece. This beautiful new piece speaks to the game's theme of duality. Ratchet & Clank are the personification of opposites forming a more powerful whole, and this theme is expanded even more through alternate dimension counterparts of characters and worlds. So breaking down this cover art further, on one side we have Ratchet & Clank on planet Sargasso from Tools of Destruction, with Thugs for Less scattered throughout the background. And just in case anyone is wondering, yes, Ratchet is holding the burst pistol. Then on the other side we have the mystery female Lombax, who we still don't know the name of just yet. And I've said this quite a few times before, until we get an official name for this character, I'm just going to call her Latchet. That's just a recurring theme I've had on the channel for quite a while. Well anyways, here's what Marcus Smith stated in today's PlayStation blog post about this new mystery Lombax. And yes, we know you are asking for the new Lombax's name, and it's not fair that we put her in the art and aren't telling you yet. Hang in there, you'll be feeling rosy soon. So that right there tells me Insomniac has at least something special planned for this character before launch, possibly dropping her name alongside some gameplay that's completely dedicated to her. And after today's announcement, I'm going to take it we're going to be playing as her way more than we originally thought. But more on that later. Right now, let's get back to the cover art. We have Latchet, assumingly in her dimension where Dr. Nefarious took over, again indicated by the huge hologram of him in the background, as well as his robotic minions. And speaking of Dr. Nefarious, he is once again brought up in today's PlayStation blog post concerning the release date info. And right here is where things start to get a bit confusing. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a brand new full-length adventure, when the evil Dr. Nefarious uses a device that can access alternate dimensions to find a galaxy where he always wins. Ratchet and Clank are separated. As they try to reunite, they will meet a new Lombax Resistance fighter, explore new and familiar locales, but with new dimensional twists, and wield a whole new arsenal of out-of-this-world weapons. This phrase right here, Dr. Nefarious uses a device, aka the Dimensionator, that can access alternate dimensions to find a galaxy where he always wins. I am very confused at this point, because before, over on the PlayStation 5 page for the game, an evil robotic emperor is intent on conquering cross-dimensional worlds with Ratchet & Clank's own dimension next in his sights, implying that the Dr. Nefarious that we've been seeing is not from Ratchet & Clank's dimension. Instead, he's likely the one from Latchet's dimension, hence the missing crack in his head. This time, in this PlayStation blog post, it seems to imply that the Nefarious we've been seeing is indeed from Ratchet & Clank's dimension, which doesn't really make sense, especially when taking All for One's ending into account. It's just very confusing at this point, and the main question I have in my mind right now is just which Dr. Nefarious are we even looking at? That's that's likely something we'll have to find out about later on, closer to the game's launch. Now we get to the real juicy stuff and the less complicated stuff, as we come to the part where we go over all the pre-order details and bonuses. And like I've already said closer to the start of the video, pre-orders for Rift Apart are live as of today. And there are quite a few editions for the game if you're interested in pre-ordering right now, all the way until the game launches. The game itself is available physically and digitally, like pretty much every other game out there, but sadly there are no collector's editions. Insomniac Games already confirmed that. The first edition that I'm going to be talking about is the Digital Standard Edition, which is the exact same thing as the physical launch edition, except you get a voucher code inside the box that allows you to unlock the respective items early without needing to pre-order. So even after the game launches and you don't pre-order, you can still get the physical version of the game and get these extra goodies early. Both the Digital Standard Edition and the physical launch edition will cost $69.99 US and $89.99 Canadian, and they both include the game, obviously, the Pixelizer from the 2016 reimagining.
Come and buy a Pixelizer! Come and buy a Pixelizer!
For those who didn't know, was one of the weapons I was hoping would return in Rift Apart, as featured in my video from a while back about which weapons I would like to see return in the game. The card to that video will be in the top right corner if you're interested in checking that out. Now, since we already have one confirmed returning weapon for this game, I wonder how many more returning weapons they are actually going to have for this game, or if this is just the only one. I don't know, but as always, we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. And the other item that's included in the Digital Standard Edition and the physical launch editions is the Carbonix armor from Ratchet Clank Going Commando in all its modern day ray trace glory. And I'm honestly really liking the look of this, because normally I'm not a fan of the armor completely covering Ratchet, but this time I might make an exception for, because this looks so cool. But the Carbonix armor doesn't just apply to Ratchet, because the new female Lombax will also be able to use this armor as well. And this right here is why I think we'll be playing as her for a good portion of the game. How much or how it'll work is still up in the air at this point. Now do keep in mind that these pre-order bonuses are not locked exclusively behind pre-orders like the Bouncer was with the 2016 reimagining, where if you did not manage to pre-order the game, you could not get the Bouncer unless you were in Japan, where you can still pay for it, which never really made sense to me. But thankfully that is not the case this time, because all this does is gives you early access to these items earlier on in the game than you would typically get them. And since purchasable armor is returning in this game, I just want to take the opportunity to say that I really appreciated the fact that Into the Nexus featured the option to swap armor whenever you arrive at a vendor, rather than what the PS2 games did, where if you buy armor, you're stuck with it and can't revert back to any other previously purchased armor. What Into the Nexus did would basically adjust the difficulty depending on the armor you chose to use, and that was pretty dang cool, because you could do that at any point in the game. I just wish that the 2016 reimagining included this feature rather than having the same armor through most of the game. Anyways, the Digital Deluxe Edition, which is not available physically like the Standard and Launch Editions, this edition includes, again, the game, the Pixelizer, and the Carbonix armor for both Ratchet and Latchet. It also includes 5 additional armor sets, 20 Raritanium to get a head start on upgrading your weapons, just like Nexus and the 2016 reimagining, a sticker pack to use in Ratchet & Clank's first ever photo mode. Oh man, I can already imagine the angles people are going to start getting with this one. As well as an art book and a digital soundtrack of the game, all for $79.99 US and $99.99 Canadian. That's kind of a pricey package, but again, keep in mind, most of this stuff like the armor and the Pixelizer can already be unlocked in the base game without pre-ordering. Also, last but not least, if you pre-ordered the game from either the US or Canada, you'll get a $5 discount toward official merchandise on the PlayStation Gear store, which just so happens to feature a brand new Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart t-shirt starting today. But anyways guys, that was honestly a bit more than I expected from a random drop like this. I mean, I wasn't expecting gameplay or anything like that, which I'm kinda glad there wasn't, because then I would need need to make a separate video to account for everything. And just in case something does show up about the game, footage, screenshots, story details, or anything like that, you might want to make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to stay up to date with everything Ratchet & Clank. Because as soon as something drops, I'm going to make a video for it. And also don't forget to leave your thoughts about today's Rift Apart news down in the comments section below. And once again, thank you all so much for watching and the support. I've been Blueknight, and I'll see you guys back here next time.